The shock hit me hard when I discovered a forged signature on the complaint letter from the HOA. Mrs. Hazel Brooks, my friendly neighbor, stood trembling as she held the letter. "I didn't sign this," she said. That night, Lennon Ellis, Elara's assistant, handed me a USB drive and whispered, "I can't stand their plans anymore." Inside was a recording, Elara and Torin Rex, the CEO of Horizon Luxe, laughing loudly. "Land prices are crashing. We'll scoop it all up," he said smugly. "Hit Tavish first, then Zane. Leave the stubborn one with the cattle for last," she plotted. But when Torin mocked my grandfather's documents, what are those old scraps of paper worth? I swore they'd pay for it. I'm Rowan Lachlan, 33 years old, a tough farmer born amidst the endless fields of Stonehaven, Montana. My work isn't just raising cattle and planting seeds, it's my heartbeat, my oath to the ancestors who poured their souls into this land across 7 generations. This isn't just where I live, it's where I defend my family's legacy, no matter who I have to face. My family's been tied to this land for 7 generations. But that morning, when I saw the HOA president marching toward my fence, her voice sharp as she demanded I get rid of my cattle because they were lowering the area's value, I never imagined my security camera would catch a midnight conspiracy that laid everything bare. Have you ever been pushed around by an HOA, bullied, squeezed, or attacked at least once in your life? If you have, leave a comment with the number 9 so I know you're with me. If not, give this video a like and stick around for the story. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss the tense twists still ahead. Back in 1959, my grandfather used every penny he'd saved from hard times to buy this land. I can still see him sitting in his armchair, telling stories of the days he hammered every fence post himself, working from dawn until night fell. To him, this wasn't just land. It was a dream of an independent life, built from nothing but his own 2 hands. He passed it to my father, who taught me everything, from tending livestock to living true to myself. For more than 8 decades, it's been just us and a handful of other farming families holding strong here. But then, 6 years ago, the luxury homes started popping up, multi-million-dollar villas with perfectly trimmed lawns, just a few hundred steps from my cattle. At first, I tried to be a good neighbor. I even invited them to our family's fall festival. Then, 3 weeks ago, a certified letter sat waiting in my mailbox. The newly formed HOA demanded changes, claiming my cattle were dragging down property values. Unacceptable. But what stunned me was the security footage from that night, 6 figures with flashlights sneaking around my property line, snapping photos nonstop. Something wasn't right, and I was determined to dig deeper. The next morning, I was checking my fences when she showed up. Elara Vespera, the new HOA president, striding across my front field in glossy high heels. She clutched a thick stack of files, her face screaming that she already owned this whole place. 2 board members trailed her, cameras in hand, muttering about my barns. I'll never forget how she started, waving a property maintenance code, demanding I remove my cattle within 25 days. Her voice dripped with arrogance as she listed my violations. My old barns were an eyesore. The cows mooing in the morning disturbed the peace. I stood there feeling like someone was choking me. But Elara didn't expect me to have the weathered papers my grandfather left behind. When I pulled out the zoning document, stamped and sealed, proving this was protected farmland since 1955, she froze. I made it clear my grandfather saw this day coming and shielded the land from anyone who'd try to take it. Right then, Soren Tavish, my retired neighbor, walked up. He's not just any old guy. He was a county judge for 30 years. He skimmed their papers and laughed, like he'd just heard a bad joke. Then he told me about 5 other farmers nearby who'd been pressured to sell their land just a few streets over. The way he said it made me realize this wasn't just about cattle or property values. That night, I got a call from Maverick Zane, the owner of Silver Oak Ranch. He'd received a letter just like mine, full of ridiculous demands. 7 generations tied to the land just like my family, and now they're saying our way of life doesn't fit. But the HOA didn't realize they'd picked the wrong fight. And I'm betting Soren has a way for us to push back. I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling, so I went back through my security footage from 7 weeks ago. That's when I spotted it. Every Wednesday night, a silver SUV parked at the edge of my property. At first, I figured it was just some kids messing around. But when I zoomed in, there she was, Elara Vespera, with a stranger holding a camera, pointing all over my land. My fists clenched. I knew I was stepping into something much bigger. The real shock came when I sifted through the pile of letters, those complaint notices the HOA kept sending. I noticed something off about the signatures. Mrs. Hazel Brooks from House 17. Mr. Felix Donovan from the corner place. I know them. They've always been kind to me. I took one of the letters to Hazel. She held the paper, her hands shaking, her voice breaking. I didn't sign this, she said. I've never heard anyone complain about your ranch. That's when Soren Tavish, my retired neighbor, introduced me to Bodie Callahan, a reporter from the Stonehaven Gazette. Bodie had been tracking similar cases in nearby counties, family ranches, standing for generations, suddenly sold off for peanuts after a HOA pressure. He showed me a clear pattern, luxury estates sprouting up right where those old farms used to be. Later that night, my doorbell rang. It was Lennon Ellis, Elara's assistant from the HOA office. She stood there, hands trembling, as she handed me an envelope. I can't live with what they're planning, she said, her voice thick, like she was holding back tears. Inside was a USB, recordings of meetings, emails, a development plan I was never meant to see. They weren't just after my ranch. They had a list of every piece of farmland in the county. The deeper I dug, the clearer it got. Secret midnight meetings, fake complaints, sudden pressure on every farmer around here. It was all part of a bigger scheme. As I pieced it together, I realized this wasn't just about property values anymore. They didn't know what they'd ignited, but they were about to find out when they faced a farmer armed with the truth. I'll never forget that Friday morning when I opened the USB. There was Elara Vespera in the HOA office, sitting with a man in a fancy suit, her husband, Torin Rex, CEO of Horizon Luxe Corporation. They were laughing, plotting how to drive every farmer in the area off their land. Once the prices tank, he said, his voice smug, we'll snatch it all up for next to nothing. It felt like someone was squeezing my heart. The same company that had bought up foreclosed ranches in 5 other counties, run by the HOA president's husband. Every complaint, every violation, every late-night inspection, it was all staged to force us out. They'd done this before, targeting family farms one by one, weaponizing HOA rules. In the next recording, Elara laid out a detailed plan. Hit the Tavish ranch first, she said, then pile the pressure on Zane's place. Leave the stubborn one with the cattle for last. They even had a timeline for which farms they'd take down. But what I couldn't stomach was hearing them mock my grandfather's original deeds. What are those old papers worth? Torin sneered. By the time they figure it out, it'll all be over. I brought everything to Soren Tavish. He spent hours going through the files, his face growing heavier with every page. This isn't just harassment anymore, he said, his voice low, like he was holding something back. They're manipulating land prices, forging documents. This is criminal. Then we found out they'd done it in 4 other communities, leaving broken farming families in their wake. But these people didn't understand that around here, we stick together. Word spread fast among the farming families. Maverick Zane's daughter, a city lawyer named Aria Lennox, started digging into their past projects. It was all the same pattern. An HOA suddenly turns aggressive, ranches get forced to sell, and then Horizon Luxe swoops in with upscale developments. But this time was different. This time, they left a trail of evidence. And I, a farmer who won't back down, won't let them destroy what our families have built. The local news broke wide open that Thursday morning. Local HOA exposed in farmland grab conspiracy, blared the headline, with a photo of my ranch alongside those forged complaint letters. If you could have seen Elara Vespera's face as she pulled up to the HOA office that day, reporters swarming the door, you'd know it was just the beginning. That night's emergency council meeting changed everything. Farmers from across the county flooded the hall, packing it to the brim. Mr. Felix Donovan, who was supposedly one of the complainers about my ranch, stood up, tears streaming down his face. He told us his father lost their family farm to the same scheme 12 years ago. Then, 4 HOA board members stunned everyone by standing up and resigning on the spot. Bryn Adler, one of them, held up emails proving Elara's manipulation. We were forced to target the ranches, she said, her voice shaking with guilt. This isn't what I signed up for. But the biggest blow came when a state investigator walked in. Turns out, our little story had caught attention higher up. He explained they'd been tracking Horizon Luxe Corporation's shady land deals across the state. They just needed solid proof, and thanks to my USB and security footage, they finally had it. The room went dead silent as he projected surveillance photos of Torin Rex meeting county officials late at night, the ones who fast-tracked zoning changes for his project. Right there, in front of everyone, he announced a full investigation into the HOA and Horizon Luxe. Elara and Torin didn't show up to that meeting, of course, but by midnight, their perfect scheme was all over the evening news. Justice sometimes comes in unexpected ways. Watching their meticulous plan crumble on live TV, that was just the first step of what's coming. When we got our hands on Horizon Luxe's master plan, it was worse than we thought. Their slick presentation laid out an 8-year strategy to turn our entire farming community into a modern luxury residential zone. Every family ranch was on their acquisition list. They'd been preparing for years. Their playbook was like a war on rural life. Infiltrate the HOA, impose impossible rules, tank land values, force desperate sales. My ranch? Labeled the stubborn one, needing aggressive measures. They'd even mapped out timelines for when each family would cave. But this is where their plan backfired completely. Lennon Ellis, the HOA assistant who gave me the USB, had been quietly gathering evidence for 8 months, meeting recordings, emails between Elara and a corrupt planning official, even photos of cash changing hands in parking lots. When the state attorney general's office saw what we had, things moved fast. Then we found the clincher, a memo from Torin Rex, bragging about how they'd reinvented 5 other farming communities into luxury housing. These farmers are sitting on treasure, he wrote. Push them the right way, and they'll sell. That push? Systematic harassment, backed by a corrupt HOA and a web of shell companies stretching across 15 counties. They never imagined a small-time farmer with security cameras and a retired judge for a neighbor could bring their whole machine down. They thought they could bully us into abandoning our legacy. Instead, they exposed a corruption network that goes way beyond our little community. That's when they showed their true colors. One morning, Torin Rex marched onto my land, flanked by 2 high-priced lawyers. He pulled out a checkbook right there in my front yard. "Name your price," he said, his voice dripping with confidence, like everything could be bought. "This project's happening, whether you like it or not. You can walk away with full pockets. Or with nothing." I stood there, thinking of my grandfather's hands building this fence, of my father teaching me to cherish this land. The number on that check was staggering, but then I heard a truck door slam. Word travels fast. Maverick Zane pulled up with his daughter, Aria Lennox, his lawyer. Soren Tavish stepped up right after. Within 10 minutes, the whole farming community was there. What happened next spread like wildfire across social media. Someone recorded it all, the community standing together, Torin trying to buy me off, and the moment Elara showed up, her face pale like she'd seen a nightmare. While he stood there, my security footage of their late-night meetings was playing at the county's emergency hearing. The community fundraiser the next week was something special. Families who'd lost ranches to Horizon Luxe drove hours from other counties to join us. Local businesses pitched in, everything from food to legal help. Even some city folks who'd bought into the new neighborhood showed up to support us. They said they moved here for real ranches, not another soulless suburb. That video of our standoff hit national news. Reporters started digging into similar cases across the country. Other farming communities checked for ties between their HOAs and developers. The movement grew bigger than we ever imagined, but the final battle came at the last HOA council meeting. We all showed up, farmers, locals, even a few suburbanites who'd once backed the HOA. One by one, we laid out the evidence, fake complaints, manipulated land prices, midnight meetings. Elara and Torin sat there watching their perfect plan unravel as their own board members turned against them. By the time we finished, no one in that room doubted what was really at stake. This wasn't just about my cattle or property values anymore. It was about defending a way of life under threat all across America. Standing with my neighbors, I knew we'd started something no checkbook could stop. When the state investigation results came out, it wasn't just justice. It was validation for every farmer who'd ever felt powerless against corporate greed. We'd exposed one of the biggest land grab schemes in state history, forged documents, distorted values, bribed officials, and countless farming families ruined, just like mine. I was in the barn when they came to arrest Elara and Torin Rex. Fancy suits and luxury cars couldn't save them now. The list of charges went on and on. Conspiracy, fraud, racketeering, document tampering. Those late-night meetings my security cameras caught, they were the knockout punch. Every clip showed them scheming with officials who were supposed to protect us. The courtroom was packed on trial day. Farmers from 5 counties showed up, some who'd lost everything to their plot, others who'd nearly been next. When the judge, a man who'd grown up on a farm himself, denied bail, a wave of justice filled the room. But this was bigger than just locking up 2 people. The investigation peeled back their whole network. Horizon Luxe was just the surface. Behind it were big city investment funds, gobbling up American farmland through HOA manipulation. They'd perfected their game across multiple states, always using the same script, but we caught them. That's when state reps stepped in. They'd been watching closely, and now they had the groundwork. New laws were drafted aimed at shielding farmland from HOA overreach. They called it the Farm Heritage Protection Act, and I'm proud it all started with a farmer who wouldn't move his cattle. Local farmers gathered at my place the day we heard the first ruling. Maverick Zane brought his famous potato casserole, and Soren Tavish couldn't hide his grin. The state prosecutor stood right where Elara once confronted me, announcing Horizon Luxe's assets were frozen, their projects halted, and victims would get a shot at restitution. National media started picking up the story. Suddenly, our little community became a symbol of standing up to corporate oppression. Other rural areas teamed up to investigate their own HOAs, looking for the same red flags. From my security cameras, a movement spread across the Midwest. The fall of Horizon Luxe made headlines nationwide. Their whole system unraveled. Shell companies, fake investment funds, all exposed. But the real victory wasn't just watching their empire collapse. It was seeing our community rise up stronger than ever. Remember those HOA board members who resigned that night? They were replaced by people who actually care about this place. The new president, Mrs. Hazel Brooks, the same woman they falsely claimed complained about my ranch, immediately scrapped those ridiculous farmland rules. "This is farmers' country," she said, her voice steady and sure, "and we're keeping it that way." The farm protection law we fought for became a model for other communities. State reps from all over called, wanting to know how we pulled it off. This small win sparked a movement, farmers and neighbors defending their heritage, their way of life. Those luxury homes Horizon Luxe had planned, the new owners turned them into something special. They partnered with us, the local farmers, to create an agri-integrated community. Instead of hiding the ranches, they celebrated them. They even started a weekend farmers market right where Elara Vespera once planned her conference center. "Come see my ranch now." The cattle they wanted gone, they're still here, grazing peacefully. Families from the new neighborhood bring their kids to visit, learning where their food comes from. We even launched an education program with the local school. Turns out, people really do want to live near honest-to-goodness farms, not cookie-cutter suburbs. The best part? That property value they were so worried about? It soared beyond anything they expected. A protected farmland and a tight-knit community turned out to be worth more than any luxury project. Every morning, I walk the fence line, just like my grandfather did, and see something he could never have dreamed of. A community that's realized the true value of its agricultural roots. As for Elara and Torin Rex, last I heard, they're facing long prison sentences, but their biggest punishment might be knowing their plan didn't just fail. It backfired, leaving our farming community stronger than ever. They once tried to push a farmer like me off my land with fancy paperwork and backroom deals. Instead, they united a community and changed state laws. Now, my cattle aren't just livestock. They're a symbol of standing up to corruption. That property value they feared? It's higher than ever, thanks to real farmers as neighbors. Sometimes, the best view isn't a manicured golf course. It's a reminder of what makes America strong. Looking back at Rowan Laughlin's journey and the Stonehaven community's fight against Horizon Luxe's manipulation, I can't help but think about the pressures modern society faces. Corporate greed, the shifting of traditional values, and the hidden power of unity. This story stirs a sense of pride in ordinary people who, with grit and mutual support, can turn the tables on forces that seem untouchable. It teaches us a lesson that even in an age of technology and urbanization, we can still protect our heritage and justice if we stand together, wielding information and truth as our weapons. I want to emphasize that this story is for entertainment and education only, not meant to discriminate, criticize, or offend any individual or group. What do you think of this journey? Leave a comment with your thoughts, hit like, share, and subscribe to spread these meaningful stories. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Wishing you a peaceful day, and I'll see you in the next one.